Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Everything is Potable. I am so happy and super excited to be bringing this to you, and I honestly want to thank all of you for all the love and support that you have shared over the last 2 weeks. I know I've been creating so much hype around this podcast and I've not dropped my first video yet, but here we are, it's finally there. And today on the podcast, we have our very first guest, who is someone who is super close to me. He's a very good friend of mine and he's also an inspiration. I'd like to introduce you all to Akash Philip, the co-founder of The Scent Shop.
Hello.
Hi. Did we really need to shake hands?
It's okay.
It's okay. All right. So Akash, how do you feel? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling comfortable?
I feel excited. I don't think I've ever been on a podcast.
Okay.
So I don't know what it entails other than, conversations. So just bring it.
Yeah, I think that's what we're here for, conversations and to find out more about Akash, who I find super interesting, and I hope you guys also find him interesting. All right, so we'll start off with our first question. It's a little bit of an icebreaker, just for you to feel comfortable and, just warm up to the crowd for them to get to know you and your personality before we go into the deep questions. So if you could describe yourself as a scent, what would it be and why? And also, if you could add notes to this, so funny thing, guys, whenever I have conversations with him and his co-founder, who's also another one of my really good friends, both of them always start talking about perfume, and they're like, oh, they spray something on and they'll be like, oh, this smells like a note of sandalwood and then citrusy. And so they always have a lot of interesting knowledge on these notes, which I have no idea about. I'm just like, oh wow, this smells really good. So I think, let's go with that. What would the notes be and how would that link up with your personality?
So, funnily enough, I am someone who has trouble choosing, a favorite perfume. Being in the industry, I've been asked by a lot of people, what's your go-to perfume? What's your favorite perfume? And I always tell them the same answer. I absolutely cannot choose a favorite perfume.
Okay.
I don't want to disappoint you in the first question itself.
It's okay.
So I'm just probably going to tell you, rather than a perfume, I would probably choose notes. I think I'm someone who gels with everyone, probably something like vanilla. I don't think I've met anyone who's not like vanilla in a perfume. And if any of you don't like vanilla in a perfume, don't burst my bubble. Don't tell it to me. But I think it's something like that, depending on the crowd, depending on the people I'm in. I'm almost always unserious. But if I have to be serious in a situation, I try my best. So, something like that, something that is, I'd like to think is liked by everyone. I'd like to think is there, not letting you down. Yeah, I would say vanilla, yeah.
Okay. I think I can account to that, the fact that I think that's a very good, very apt description of a note that you would go for. And it's also very pleasant to be around, which you are.
Oh, thank you.
I'm joking.
I'm on her podcast. Be nice.
Right. Okay. So, Akash, now let's get into the deep stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I would want to know a little bit more about your story, just where you've come from, who you are, who you're today, who you were. So I would just like a little bit of background, if you could give us that.
Okay, so about me, everything I studied in Dubai. I did my schooling here, my college year, my master's year, except for the 2 months I went somewhere else, dropped out, came back. That's why the pause. As far as the business and the whole co-founder thing you mentioned, I could tell you the story of how we started. I could tell you, is that something you'd be interested in, like all of it together in one shot?
I think that's coming up, so we can talk about the business.
Okay.
You can tell me just about you pre-business, I think.
Okay.
Let's get to know who Akash was before he became a co-founder.
Well, as far as a person, I think I'm the exact same.
Okay.
It's everything I mentioned in the last thing. I'm more of a people's person. I like to be there for people. I'm insanely social. I get made fun of a lot for that. And since I have way too many friends, I get made fun of way too many people, fun by way too many people. But I think that's who I am. I was once told by a friend, I'm like a walking, talking, friend-making machine.
Oh, wow.
So, and I have a lot of testimonies to it. Even when I mentioned I went to a college for 2 months and I came back, and I still get made fun of by friends there saying I have more friends than them in that college. And it is true, I do have a lot of friends there. I think in a nutshell, that is who I am as a person. I'd like to believe I'm a good guy, often more than not. And yeah, I hope everyone's happy for me, and I too in turn am happy for people, everything they do, everything they are, everything they become, and I do nothing but wish the best for most people. So
Okay.
that's who I am. Yeah.
All right. That's really nice. So I've known Akash from I think first grade, and
Back when she was the same height.
yeah, back when I was the same height. And the funny thing is, he's always like, he's literally not changed as a person. He's like, I think even you in second grade, that was my first meeting with you. He literally made fun of me. And even to this date, I think that's still been our dynamic and it's never changed, and in the best way possible. So yeah, that's really nice. So Akash, what inspired you to start your own business? And how do you constantly keep yourself motivated to keep going, to keep pushing yourself, to keep growing? So yeah.
Okay. So it's a little contradictory here. I was never inspired to start a business, which is not something you hear from people who usually start businesses. I would say lack of money is one, but funnily enough, I was never looking to start a business. From a young age, and I mean from school, I used to flip anything I could get my hands on. I used to sell a lot of concert tickets and a lot of tickets to theme parks and whatever I could get my hands on. You flip it, you make $5, you make $5. It's not about the amount of money you make. It's the fact that you made something when there was nothing to be made from it. And I used to constantly do that, and I believed it was because I was a very broke kid. And so I have a theory. My sister, when she goes out, she gets a lot of money, but I feel like boy children, like guy childs, why am I saying like that?
Childs,
Yeah,
guy child.
Boys in general don't get anything, and I also think it's because they go out almost every day.
Okay.
My sister will probably, she'll be like, let me go out. Can you give me $50? My dad will be like, why take 100? And I'll be
No,
like,
I think my dad's done that to me too. And
I'll be
Joshua
like-
barely got money.
Exactly. I'll be like, I'm going out. Can I have $20? He'll be like, here's 5. You want, you take it. I'm like, what do you mean? So I think it was always the need for money that I kept flipping. But funnily enough, my co-founder Georgie was the first one to tell me it's not because you don't have money. It's because you're wired that way. He's the first one to put a term to it. I remember him telling me, it's very entrepreneurial of you to do it, because that's how your mind works.
Shout out to Georgie.
Shout out to Georgie. So yeah, as far as inspiration, I don't think there was an inspiration. It's just something I found out, something to do, and then Georgie met with me and he told me, what you're doing, we can do it better, and that is how we are here today. And what was your second question? What is the second after it?
How do you keep yourself constantly motivated to keep going and to keep pushing yourself?
Okay, so motivation is, I've been a bit of someone who is a little motivated from within. It's more about intrinsic motivation, if you will. You see results, you keep working. That's how I see. And the days I don't feel motivated enough, Georgie is there. The fact that you have somebody working as your partner, working towards the same goal with the same values, really helps a lot. Because days where I'm not finishing what I'm supposed to finish, days where I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, he sits me down and he tells me, see, there's a reason we started this. Look at how much your life has changed in 2 years. And imagine if 2 kids without any prior experience can come and do this.
Yeah.
What will you be able to achieve if you keep at it?
Yeah.
And I think that is one of my biggest sources of motivation. And my girlfriend, similarly, she was with me there and she was with me here now. So it's all, I think I'm someone who grabs motivation from everyone around me, regardless of whatever tiny aspect it is. Yeah, I think that's that.
That's nice. I mean, yeah, I think you guys have done a very good job with your business, because I do remember before you guys, I think right after 2 weeks after you got your trade license, you asked me to do your books, and I remember sitting down, doing their profit and loss, their balance sheet and everything.
I remember her telling me, Akash, this is a mess. What is this?
Yeah, and to see how organized they have become now. And really, like, I know that the numbers have changed because I knew the numbers. So I know that the numbers have changed. So honestly, that is like really motivating to see how you started off with like the smallest thing, got inspired by a friend, motivated rather, I would say, by a friend who he pushed you to get out of your comfort zone. You got out of it.
Yes, very much.
And look at you now. Like, here you are on a podcast, as we're talking about your journey.
Yeah, it is.
So that's pretty cool. Okay, fine. All right. This question is also about you being an entrepreneur. So, what does it mean to be a young entrepreneur, especially? Like, I know that you've been doing this, like you said, you've been flipping tickets and you've been just, selling random things. I know that because I've always seen you post on Instagram and, back in the day on BlackBerry and all. So, that you're selling things. So, but right now that you've gotten into this full time as a business, what does it mean? And do you feel like you've ever gotten treated differently because you were young? And you can also throw some light on just like your family's response to this, you starting off your own thing. Because I know that Indian families are very aversive to risk.
Yes.
They're very low risk people.
Yes.
Let's just live a safe life. But this is you're really rushing in and you're putting all your eggs in one basket and you're like, it's this or nothing, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to talk me through that journey and through you just being, do you feel like your age has ever affected how people view you, even within the industry? Because I know there are many veterans.
It is a very family based and people being there for a long time type of industry. As far as age, I think it's worked both ways. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, they used to look at us as, okay, it's a couple of kids. Maybe we don't have to take them seriously enough. But then there were days where Georgie was once told to his face, "You guys are too small for me to deal with you."
Oh my gosh!
And you know how he gets. He gets very, I might take it differently, but he gets very, "I'll show you in a couple of years." And funnily enough, today he's one of our suppliers. Whoever said that to Georgie?
Wow.
So I think it's the same. It has both the effects, the good and the bad. Eventually, when we started off, it used to be negative. It used to be not like we had so much of a problem with it, but it used to be negative. People used to go like, okay, you know what, they're young. We don't have to do this. But after a certain couple of years of doing business and they start hearing about us, noticing us, it's a positive connotation. They'll be like, oh my God, they're young, but they're still here. So now it's more of a positive, this thing, because it's business at the end of the day. And when you get into business with somebody young, you have guaranteed business for the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
All you have to do is be nice and be profitable, but be nice, because some of these things are more important than money. You could make a lot of money doing business with someone, but at the end of the day, if they don't treat you right, if they don't have their values set in the right place, you might not necessarily continue with it. So I think as far as the age factor, there are both aspects to it. Sorry. And as far as the family aspect, now this is pretty funny. So eventually, while doing this on the side, I was also doing real estate, and my family was telling me how you're taking a little too many risks. So you're well educated. I also had a job in a certain place where I was there only for a week. It was a really good job, but on the 7th day I got a real estate offer. So on the 8th day I quit that job, and my parents were not at all happy about it. They told me, are you sure? Is this something you want to do? There's a very good growth opportunity. The pay is really nice. The hours were a lot, but then it's work. Something or the other won't go according to what you want. But then I told them, okay, this is something I really want to do. And then I eventually got into real estate while doing the business on the side when we were operating small scale. And eventually I had to make a choice between, because two legs on two boats, both of them are going to sink. So I figured, okay, it's time to make a choice. And then I made a choice. I jumped into the business full time, and my parents weren't very supportive. They didn't say anything against it, but I could see that they were worried. And I don't blame them, because my family does not have a business background. I mean, to be fair, up until a couple of years ago, I didn't have a business background. And my parents used to always say, are you sure? What if it fails? What if it fails? And that's when I reminded them, 90% of the people they live a 9 to 5. They do a normal job. They don't think, what if it fails? At least in this, if it fails, I can go back to that. And with God's grace, my family was in UAE for most of their lives. They have something to show for it. So if tomorrow something is to go south, they can support me if anything is to happen. So, and I used to tell them, right now it's just me. There are no added responsibilities. I'm not married. I have nothing else. You guys are well to do. If not now, then when will I be able to do it?
Yeah.
And then, eventually spoke to my parents like that, and then they were sort of okay with the idea. And a while later, they started seeing progress, and they were happy. I mean, now when they speak about it, they're like, "Oh, we were supportive from the beginning," and I'm like, "No, you weren't." But I don't ever blame them, because I know everything they did is for my good. If they didn't want to see me fail,
Yeah.
it's one of that. But failed a lot, you should know. Yeah, but I think it's a normal, like you said, I think it's an Indian mentality, or it's probably a middle class mentality. When you don't come from a risk, like a risk involved background, you will be averse to risk. I mean, even today, running a business, I still have a very low risk appetite. But yeah, that should answer it.
Okay, fine. All right. That's actually really nice. It's also good to know that now that your family has seen your growth and everything, they're so proud of you, as they should be.
It is. And another thing, when you spoke about motivation, is another thing that keeps me driven at all times is giving them what I'm able to give them today. And that has been, I've always been the type of kid to, I mean, you would know that, I probably would have said it to you too. When asked, what do you want to do with life? If I had to summarize it in a single sentence, I've always told everyone, it's to give my family everything I believe they've sacrificed to give me everything
that is
I
so
wanted.
emotional.
I'm just being honest. So, and I tend to get a little emotional when we speak about family too, because they're not here and everything. But yeah, this has always been the goal, to give your family everything that I believe they've sacrificed for me.
How does it feel like you've lived here your whole life with your family?
Yeah.
So how does it feel like, taking on this new venture and, they're not there by your side? Like,
so as far as
physically?
emotionally speaking, I would like for them to be here, because at the end of the day, they're my family. I've been with them all my life. But at least as far as independence, it didn't really matter, because so from a young age, I used to do my own dishes, do my own laundry, clean my entire house, because my family's method of punishing was to make me do my own chores. So every time I used to mess up in school, I used to get suspended, get kicked out. My mom would be like, from today you wash your own dishes. And I used to be like, oh my God, I have to wash my own dishes. And then I used to do that. And similarly, the same goes for my laundry, the entire house. So from like 9th grade, I used to do all of it myself. So I never had a problem doing all of it. So adjusting to them not being there from an independent perspective, it wasn't a problem. Yeah, some days, you would like to come back home to your family. And that's okay. That's something that can be worked on.
okay, that's very nice. It's honestly so sweet that you really value and respect your parents.
Send this to my parents, yeah?
Yeah. Uncle, auntie, we will be sharing this link with you. But I just think it's also very normal for people, once they reach like high levels of success, to forget like the people who were really the ones pushing them and the ones who've made them where they are. So I think that's really nice that you really like love and respect your parents, and you owe it to them. Like you're like, this is yours. Like
100%. I mean, to be very fair, we've reached no levels of success in our opinions, but you are nothing if you forget everybody who stayed with you when you had nothing. So damn, I just came up with it now.
Let's go.
But that's what speaks volumes about you as a person. If there's somebody to give you a ride when you didn't have a car, and you could probably buy the best car, but if you don't,
you did that for me. I still don't have a car, but one day when I do, I will give you a ride.
No, I'd rather not sit with you when you drive.
Who is your greatest inspiration in your personal life and why?
Okay, so there are no famous people or well-known people that inspire me. Not in a way where I think I'm above them or anything. In a way where there's way too many of them doing, a lot of extraordinary things. Deriving motivation from any of them or inspiration from any of them is a big task. My inspiration comes from my everyday people. Like it's my dad and mom, who worked really hard to give me a life here, my sister a life here. It's my partner, it's Georgie, my business partner, who sits me down, tells me stuff when I don't know, who has his values aligned with me, so that I know we're both doing this for a cause greater than us. It's to take care of our families. It's not just to put things in our pockets. It's also to help people we can help. Yeah. It's my girlfriend who's taught me that nothing is really impossible. She, from the day I told her I might look into starting this as a company, to today, I remember I had the conversation with her, and I was saying, I'm flipping a few perfumes to friends and family. I had a conversation with a friend, maybe we might like start up a business, and she said, oh, you know what, I think you can do it. So it's her mother, who is a self-made businesswoman, who is one of the strongest women I've seen. It's my mother, who was a nurse, and being a nurse during COVID was hell. I could see her take like like 2 chapatis to work and then come back home with that, and I used to be like, did you not eat? And she said, yeah, there's a lot of work. So it's all of these, you know, it's people I see every day, people who used to be stuck at a certain job but is at a better place now, people who are still stuck at the same job but they don't give up, keep doing it because they have to. So I think I'm someone who derives inspiration from everyone around me. It's that is my inspiration. Yeah.
So you draw inspiration from like people around you, like your daily life.
Around me, those are the people I know things of, like Amazon. Everyone talks about, you know, Jeff Bezos, about how he started his business, but he also got like a $200,000 loan from his parents. That's not inspiration to me. My inspiration is somebody who made something out of themselves when they couldn't. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be financial. It just has to be in a mental space they were in.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's people who I know things about.
No, I think that's really nice. Okay, I think that's a great answer. I mean, I actually did know that you were not going to give anyone famous.
Oh, really?
I had a feeling that you would be drawing inspiration.
I've never been asked who's your inspiration.
Yeah. And so it's nice. It's good to know that you've like given a shout out to all of these people who have literally been.
And there's a lot more. You know, there are n number of friends who've supported me in so many ways.
Yeah.
From whether it was from picking up a box to when my leg was broken, helping me get to so many people. Everyone around. That's probably the right way to say it.
Yeah, I think you've just been super lucky to have this sort of support from friends and family, and really people who believed in your cause and did not just look at it as, oh, it's just two of our friends just doing something. But actually, I remember when you guys started, I was so like proud of you guys. I kept going around. Even to this day, like I tell people, oh, you know, like my friends, they own a business, and it's like gone around so much that even my mom goes and tells people, oh, Arpita has two friends who own a perfume shop.
Yeah,
so it's just like, it's like I feel like they're so lucky that they've had like people who are like so proud of what they have achieved. And
I think part of the reason, like 95% of the reason for the fact that, you know, we're here is because of everyone's prayers. And this is something Georgie and I always tell each other, you know. I wish he was on this podcast. I say Georgie and I a lot. Next time we should get
him. He's gonna be coming. But stay tuned for that, guys. Put in comments, support. Please ask him to come on.
We want Georgie. We want Georgie.
Who is this guy without a face? You know, this name that keeps popping up in this conversation.
Yeah, so I think it's that. It's the fact that everyone's just rooted for us. Everyone just prayed for us, because there is absolutely no other reason why we should be sitting here, you know. Again, I will go on to say we haven't done something really great, but you know, there's still time. There's always time to do something great.
Yeah, I think your faith, like everything, also like just ties down. Like you really do trust and believe in like everything that's happening 100%. Around you, and yeah, I think that's really nice. So let's go on to a little bit of a business question.
Okay.
What's your vision for your company in the next 5 years?
Vision in the next 5 years. Okay. Again, a little bit of unorthodox answer. We have certain goals set, okay, but there is no vision to be achieved within a certain time, and I'll tell you why. We believe in staying small till we have to expand, and I'll give you examples. I'll tell you what I mean. We initially started taking goods locally and supplying them to markets. Okay, so you know, eventually it became to a point where we had more access to goods but not enough customers. So then we expanded into finding more customers, and then eventually it came to a point where we had enough customers but not enough supply. So then we looked into getting in more supply, because if someone's locally giving it to us for, let's say, 500, there is somebody who is importing it for 400, you know, random amounts, but you get the point. Yeah. So once we started looking into it, our first shipment we landed in Georgie's bedroom. It was there where we opened, you know, we were looking at the goods, everything, repacking, and then, you know, we started selling it out. And eventually, from a corner of his bedroom, it became half his bedroom and all of his bedroom. There were nights where he slept on boxes, and I'm not joking. His mom told me one night he just slept off on boxes. And then we started slowly expanding into his hall, till we got to a point where we knew his parents would kick both of us out. So then we took a small office. I think it was a 250 square feet office. And then eventually, once that outgrew us, we took another 250 square feet office. And then right now we cancelled our lease on both those offices, and we have a 1,100 square feet office. But case in point being, we stay small till we have to do it, because I think when business is good, you have to save as much as you can, because when business is bad, and it will be bad one day, you need things to put back in. So as far as goals, yes, there are a lot of goals. In fact, we started off doing wholesale, then it became import, export, and supply, and now we've also slightly got into distribution. There's a certain brand called Memoirs of a Perfume Collector, for which we're the sole distributors in UAE. So that was a slightly bit of an expansion, if you will. So I think there are visions, there are goals in place, but there is no timeline, because you don't know what's in store tomorrow, and you don't know what God has in store for you too. Hopefully it works in 5 years. If things go well, it works in 2 years. If not, even if it's in 10 years, it's okay.
Okay. So it's a very patient journey, but there are goals in place.
There are goals in place, 100%. You can't do anything without goals. Even if your goal is as small as to increase your profit by 5%, has to be a goal in place. Whether you achieve it or not, I think is secondary.
Yeah,
because it's not always in your hand. And I'm someone who believes if you can't control it, don't worry about it. Because something will happen, and when it happens, worry about it. It might not always be the best advice, but in most cases, if you can't control it, you really can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so there's no point of unnecessarily also stressing yourself out.
Yes. Take precautions, yes, 100%. Keep provisions in place, 100%. But don't worry about it.
Okay, that's a really nice vision, or I would say a set of goals that you have. And this video going, I think you're going to achieve all of them within the next 5 years. I have no doubt. So, if you could tell your childhood self one thing, what would it be? As from where you are right now, what would you look back and tell yourself?
Okay, so my childhood self, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't tell anything. My younger self, yes, I'll get to that. But my childhood self, I was a very naughty kid. I think I had way too much fun, doing everything. Even now when I go to India and I meet people, and they'll be like, oh, here also when I meet my family's friends, they all tell me, oh, this was a kid who used to run around breaking stuff in church. And I'm like, what, me? And I know very well it is me, because I've been told by a lot of people that I was a very naughty kid. So my childhood self, probably nothing, because naughtiness runs in everyone, everybody is naughty. It's just the question of whether you're a good person beneath all of it. In school also, when I used to get into trouble, my supervisor used to tell my dad, he's a very nice kid. He's a really nice kid. He's just insanely naughty. We cannot tolerate it. But he's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
But my younger self, I would reassure them. Because there was a point I was working a job for 2,000 dirhams a month. I did my MBA at the same time while working that job. And obviously the money is small, but the priority then was to finish the MBA, not sitting at home. But at that point, I used to think, I'm qualified. I think I'd like to think I have what it takes. I have a bachelor's degree. I'm doing my MBA, but all of this, and I'm still only making 2,000. While I used to see closest friends of mine making 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the money. I was always happy for them, but at certain times, doubt creeps up. Why not me? And then later in life, I figured out, okay, not me, because then there was a reason, now there's a reason. So I would just say, if anything to my younger self, I would say, just do good, be patient. That's it. Do good, be patient. The do good is very important. Be patient.
Wow. I think that is, I think, something that we all can take away as well. Do good and be patient. And just give yourself that time. And not to compare your journey with other people's journey.
Yes, comparison really is the thief of joy.
It's a thief of joy, insanely. And I think we all have experienced it. So I think my greatest takeaway from this talk has actually been this part that you said, that do good and
be patient.
Be patient, yeah. I think it's fine as long as you are putting in that work, and it's like time always has a way of turning things around for you.
Yes, and I believe efforts are always rewarded. And I'll give you an example. Maybe not in the exact same space. So when I used to do real estate, there were clients I used to work months on. When I say months, day and night, answer their calls, tell them everything for 3-4 months in a row, and they would end up not buying. But eventually there would come a client where in 3 days they'll buy.
Yeah.
So it's all the same. Do good, be patient. Your efforts will be rewarded. Maybe just not in the same space.
Yeah.
But if not in the same space, then something better, because God always has a plan.
Yeah. I think that's really nice. So thank you so much, Akash, for coming on the show, being my first guest. I know I had to run behind him so much, but I am so grateful that I have friends who are really supporting me on this. So everybody, thank you for watching. If you've made it till here, I'm super happy, and I definitely want to give a shout out to the Scent Shop. They have an Instagram page. Do follow them on Instagram. Do reach out to them for any luxury perfume needs. They're always there. They're always available. He's a very hands-on operations guy, and he has a great strategy team with Georgie, and we have Alvin also who works with them. So make sure to reach out to them. They'll give you the best prices for your perfumes.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, and just do follow them on Instagram, and definitely do share this video across. And I'm so happy to have all of you watching this, and hope to see you all next week. Bye.